Own the moments before. Own the moments right after. Have a plan for the time that's experiential. But too many people are doing experiential things in the business as usual moments. My name is Brian Pannuzzo. I help financial professionals build an elite body and mind outside of the office without sacrificing performance at work. I know your life because I lived it for 20 years. Welcome back to the show. This is the Success Lift Podcast. My name is Brian. Thank you for being back with me. It is right after a big holiday weekend in the United States, July 4th. I hope you had an amazing July 4th holiday. Summer, as I said last week, is completely now in full swing. For those of you who don't think of summertime being here until July 4th, a lot of times, schools, like I know some of my friends' kids just got out of school like a week ago, which is crazy. My kids have been out of school for over a month now. But no matter where you live, we are officially in summer mode. And I have been in big time summer mode from the perspective of traveling around a lot over the last few weeks. In fact, I currently am on the last leg of a bit of a marathon, 3 weeks for me. I'm currently this week in New York, New Jersey, traveled back to the East Coast this week to see family, see friends, see clients of mine. It's always a very productive time when I come back. It's a bit of a whirlwind for me because there's just so many people to see. There's so much to do. I have a lot of my client base still here in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Long Island area, Philadelphia as well. And so trying to get to see all of them is very important to me. My executive teams, the two executive teams that I'm working with right now are here as well. And there's just a lot to do. Got to see my dad, got to see my friends, got to hang out at Knickerbocker Country Club, get some rounds of golf in. There's just so much going on. And what I thought would be helpful for you, given where I'm at right now in this stage of my life, in this mini season for me, and where I've been recently, just as importantly, with a family trip in California, down to San Diego in the middle of June, and then immediately right after that, spending a week in Arizona, sweating my you-know-what off at a baseball tournament. Baseball does not care about having to take a week off of your normal routine, and also being outside in 110 degree heat. I mean, are you kidding me, baseball? Could we have that tournament in Southern California at the end of June? Do we really need to go to Arizona and be in 110 to 115 degree heat? But it's been I don't want to say difficult several weeks for me because they've been amazing. Fortunately for me, my life, my business is portable now. It's transferable to locations, to geographic locations. I deliver my content and my program virtually. I stay very highly connected to clients via text, via video, via our weekly communication and accountability process inside of my program. And so I don't feel like anybody that I work with has missed a beat with me because of my ability to be able to stay connected to them. I intentionally design the way that I deliver my resources, my content, and set up our engagement inside of my programs so that you can be anywhere and I can be anywhere. And that's the beauty of virtual coaching, is that you can go anywhere and still get results. You can stay connected. There are so many amazing things to being in person with somebody in a training setting, right? In a coaching setting for sure. But even if you go to an amazing trainer 3 to 4 days a week, we're talking 1 hour sessions with that trainer. We're talking there's 23 other hours in those days. And then there's 24 in the others that you're not seeing your trainer or your coach or your therapist. And so to be able to be more highly connected to somebody on a frequent basis with the, in addition to still then getting in person from time to time and using technology to stay connected, FaceTime, Zooms, video messages, the video content I produce inside of my programs, I think is incredible. I get tremendous feedback on it. And so, long story short, you're never going to get rid of this face. We're always going to be in in front of you, as we would call it. I stay in front of my clients, it's a term from the bond business, as much as possible. And so all this to say that I trick myself sometimes into thinking that, I can go anywhere, I can do anything, and I can continue to grow and manage my business. And oh, by the way, I continue to do that. Month of June was the best month I've ever had, the best month that Success Lift and High Performance Health has ever had. And so that's great feedback for me, but it's also challenging. It's challenging to be outside of your daily routine that you have at home. And that's something that I realize I just gave a quite long intro into what we want to talk about during the next 20 minutes. But I thought it would be very helpful to review some of the things that I've been doing as I've been home for, I believe it'll be 3 nights. I think I've slept in my bed for 3 nights in the last 3.5 weeks. Okay. Now that's pretty unusual for someone like me. And that's probably unusual for most people listening to this, but I know that many of you have had stretches like this. I have clients that are currently in the middle of a stretch like this between business travel and family travel and other things going on with the kids in terms of sports tournaments and youth obligations throughout the summer, taking kids away to summer camp, all the things. And so I know previous to the summer starting, I did a summer blueprint podcast episode, and I think you should go back and check that one out as well. But I wanted to give you a live look in to the last 3 weeks and talk a little bit about some of the things that I've been doing to make sure that I don't pick my head up out of the sand 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, and I've evaluated that I've lost a month of my year, because we only get 12 of them. And so many times, too many people bury their head in the sand during tough stretches of their lives, mini seasons of their life. That could be the holiday season. We've all had those 3 to 4 week stretches. That could be the end of the summer back to school. That could be the start. It could be any time, any place, anywhere. It could be a busy work stretch where you have tons of client dinners. You have a lot of travel. I've worked with people who are selling companies. That last 2 months, that last 2 month stretch of you exiting something that you've taken a decade or more to build is enough to drive you insane and also drive you to obesity, alcoholism, and every other, chronic disease possible. And so there's always going to be these little seasons of our life. And so here are some things that I've been doing. All right. First, to give you the lay of the land, we drove from Palos Verdes Estates, California, down to Coronado, which is a section of San Diego, beautiful section of San Diego, for 4 nights a few weeks ago. Okay. We were there for 4 nights. We then came home for a day and a half, slept in my bed 2 nights. Okay. Then immediately drove to Arizona, nice 7-hour ride to Arizona for a week. All right. Just me and my son. So my entire family went away. Then I came home for a short period of time, then away with my son for 7 straight days in Arizona. All right. Then home for 2 nights. So I'm going to correct myself. I've been in my bed for 4 nights total. Right. Home for 2 nights. Okay. And then immediately to the East Coast for another trip. Now, what are some of the things I have going for me during this stretch? All right. First of all, what I have going for me is my standards. Okay. I don't break my standards unless it absolutely has to be broken. And what I do is I immediately find a notch lower. What is an acceptable decline of my standard? All right. When can I increase my standard? When I can get back to it. We'll talk about that in a moment. But I don't just flip the switch off in my life. In any area, I dim the switch down. I've mentioned this before on previous podcasts. I've talked about this with my clients recently. Dimmer switches. Okay. We want to dim the lights down. We do not want to flip them off. Right. If we can turn them all the way up, that's great. But oftentimes we can't keep the light shining as long as we want to for in the periods of time. So they have to be dimmed back and forth. And that's the constant auditing process that we go through on a weekly basis inside of this program, right? Or inside of any good program. They're going to have some process that you go through that allows you to evaluate how you did, make commitments to what's coming up, and then prepare for those. That's the magic formula that I've found that works for me and my clients. Okay? Get accountable to what you've been doing, commit to what you're going to do next, prepare for the things that are going to get in the way, because they always do, and that's the missing step for most people. ACP. We do that on a weekly basis. Your accountability, your commitment, your preparation. If you're not doing this in your life, you're leaving a ton of money on the table in every single area. All right? So I was able to drive to San Diego. I was able to drive to Arizona. Obviously, I'm getting on a plane to California. When you're able to drive places, that gives you a little bit more flexibility. You can pack things in the car. I was able to bring dumbbells. I was able to bring protein powder, protein bars, other snacks that I might be consuming on a regular basis that help me at least stay on track and enjoy some of the moments that I choose to later in the day. We'll talk about the structure of my day in a moment, right? If you're staying like I did in private homes during your stay, you're able to then get some groceries. You're able to set up your environment that is conducive to staying on track a little bit more. When you're in a hotel room, it's a little bit harder, but it's still doable. And so Instacart was one of the first things we did at the places that we were staying in San Diego and in Arizona, because I was able to make sure that I had the things that I needed. Now, if you're staying in a hotel, then it's going to be a little bit harder, but you're going to be able to do it no matter what. So you can still get a small refrigerator. You can still get your groceries that you need ordered. You're able to handle these things that you need to if you just put some preparation and some commitment into the things that you're trying to do. Okay? So Instacart for groceries, hotel, use your small fridge. You can go to a CVS, you can go to a 7-Eleven, you can go to a Whole Foods, but make sure that you're at least giving yourself a shot to be able to be successful. All right? And that typically is nutrition stuff. All right? The other things that I did immediately was, when I knew where I was staying in both locations, was I went on to the World Wide Web and I found gyms that I could go to. Now, I didn't go to any of the gyms that I looked up in San Diego, but they were very close by. It just ended up being very easy for me to do some at-home fitness via dumbbells and via the backyard that I was staying in. So I was able to get some bodyweight workouts in. I was able to fit it into sort of a compound interest exercise snacking, we call it inside my program approach, where throughout the day I was accumulating push-ups, I was accumulating lunges, I was accumulating dips, I was accumulating planks. I was doing all of these things on a micro but frequent basis to be able to stay on track, all right? And that's always something that people miss out on. They miss out on the concept of an all or nothing concept. And what can you do? What can you do inside your hotel room? What can you do down at the gym, even though it's not an ideal setup? What can you order to the room? What can you have in the house to make sure that you can stay on track? When I went to Arizona, I found a gym that gave me a 1-week membership. And lucky for me, it was for free, but I would have paid for it. Okay? Let's talk quickly about some of these transition moments, because I mentioned the 3 or 4 nights at home. I mentioned, having some moments throughout the day that, aren't necessarily ideal for accumulating some exercise. These moments happen in smaller increments when we're outside of our routines. All right. So I've had multiple 1 to 1.5-ish day stretches at home in between a couple of my trips. And so I've made sure that I execute my routine as much as I possibly can during those times. So I went to the gym when I drove home from San Diego on a Sunday night and didn't get to the gym until 5 p.m. It was Game 7 of the NBA Finals. I love basketball. I wanted to lay on my couch and watch that game. but I realized I had to get to the gym, because if I didn't, I would miss another day of the gym, and getting to the gym, a couple days later wasn't possible because I'd be driving in a car on my way to Arizona. So I put the game on my phone on YouTube TV. I went to the gym and I watched the game on my phone while I got a 45-minute workout in. Was it perfect? No. Did it at least get me back on track a bit? Yes, it did. So make sure in these transitions, we call it in my program, mastering the transition. All right? If you have 24 hours, 48 hours, 36 hours, 6 hours at home, I don't care what it is, master that transition. Make sure you're doing all you can do in those moments, because those are the moments that people throw away. I talk to clients all the time about placing level 10 effort into level 10 problems. And we don't go at things sometimes with level 10 effort because it's just, quite frankly, easy to let it slide, because what's the use? I only have a day and a half at home. I'm so far behind. I have to catch up doing things. And so making sure that you are mastering the transition, whatever those moments of time are for you, is critical, because they accumulate more than you give credit to. All of these moments that we have, these moments in our day to snack on things, exercise, better nutrition, proper scheduling, these moments happen in 7, 12, 14-minute increments throughout our day. I know you don't have 90 minutes extra to start to do this elaborate routine for yourself that's going to get you in the best mental and physical shape of your life. That's the mistake you keep making. People keep waiting for these 90-minute blocks to appear. Keep waiting. They're not coming. You have to create more momentum in your day via some of these smaller moments. Now, of course, we need to be scheduling time for ourselves. Scheduling you is another huge foundation in my programs. And so we will find 30 or 60 minutes in your day during specific periods of time. Typically, spoiler alert, they're before everybody wakes up in your house. So that means you need to go to bed earlier and wake up earlier if you're not getting those moments right now. But even if you do dedicate that hour to yourself, 30 minutes to yourself, 90 minutes to yourself, if you're like me and get up early enough, I got no problem scheduling 90 minutes to myself in the morning because I get up at 4:30. Now, do you have to get up at 4:30? No. But if your house gets going at 6:30 and you're waking up at 6:22, you can see how that's a recipe for not being in control of your day. So you got to master the transition. All right. The next thing I looked at was, given where I was going and who I was doing it with and what I was going to do and all these things, I had to come up with an overall plan for myself. And here, let me explain. Okay. I can't, when I go away, like San Diego with my wife, we certainly enjoyed some alcohol on a daily basis, right? When you go to these baseball tournaments, when you go to these sports tournaments, I don't need to tell you as a parent of a kid who's been away at a sports tournament that there is a steady flow of booze that typically happens either during the games all day or each night when you're hanging out with the adults as the kids be knuckleheads and hang out themselves, right? Then I'm going to New Jersey and New York, where I'm going to see clients for dinner. I'm going to hang out with friends. I'm going to be active at my club. There's definitely July 4th celebrations and the weekend and golf. And all of those typically mean elevated levels of alcohol and some lower quality food for me. And so while we had some experiential moments in San Diego of gelato, by the way, Coronado has some of the best food I've had in terms of like restaurants. 2 gelato places we hit, like off the charts. Couldn't recommend Coronado more for a getaway with your family, that for good food, a great beach, a cool, fun hangout town. You can walk the town. It's really, really amazing. It's a beautiful hotel. We didn't stay at it. I stayed at a client's home, amazing home, by the way. So we had an incredible experience for ourselves. But if you were just going to go to Coronado, stay at the Coronado Del Mar, you're right on the beach, Navy SEALs everywhere. By the way, go to the beach, you get an air show. It was like what do they call it? Like the Blue Angels or something? Like these planes, you see my hands on YouTube right now. I mean, they were literally, the wings were like an inch apart. And there were 3 of them. They were just weaving around. Saw like some bombers, saw some fighter jets. Like you go to the beach and you get a military air show because of the bases that are there. It's neither here nor there, but just a plug for the tourism department of Coronado. All right. So when I look at my 3.5 weeks that I'm evaluating right now, like something's got to give is basically the point. And so for me, like I can't spend 24 to 27 straight days drinking alcohol every single day, like, or only taking a couple of days off, which unfortunately is a lot of the way a lot of people live their lives, right? But for me and the results that I want, even if I do a good job at my nutrition, even if I do get workouts in here and there, if I have an experiential meal on a daily basis every day, which is what we tend to do when we're out of our routines, and I have some to a bunch of alcohol, which is what a lot of us do when we're out of our routines, for 3.5 straight weeks, I am not going to look and feel the way I want to. That is not going to be my standard. And so I have to evaluate this and say, well, something's got to give, right? So I ranked who I wanted to use my bullets with. And so my wife and my friends are always going to fall at the top of that list. And so what did that mean for me? That meant for me on this trip to Arizona that I was just on, that I had to adjust my behavior and do things differently from the rest of the people that I was living with. And so while we all had an amazing time and they tended to consume a bit more alcohol than I did on a daily basis, they tended to eat some lower quality food than I did on a daily basis, I had to make sure that I was committed and prepared to execute my plan. And so, yes, I did enjoy some alcohol with them. I did have some, pizza when we had pizza, but I went out of my way to make sure that I was doing things that aligned with my goals. And so one day that meant I went to the store and I bought my own chicken thighs and I grilled them while everybody else was eating pizza. And I had a slice of pizza, but I also ate a shit ton of chicken that night. And you know who else who loved the chicken that came fresh off the grill as I was just cutting it on the cutting board and handing it to people? Everybody else. So everybody else enjoyed what I did for myself. I appeared to be a hero for grilling some amazing, meat up for people while they were just stuffing, pieces of pizza down their throat. I was like, wow, this chicken was amazing. We should have done that. And so it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to look like a weirdo if you just decide to do something for yourself. But pro tip, make sure you buy enough for everybody else. So I knew that if I bought, 3 packs of chicken thighs and ate 2 of the chicken thighs for myself, that there would be, 10 extra chicken thighs for people. I could either hand them out, put them in the fridge, eat them again, win-win for everybody. It doesn't matter. So I look like, a very selfless guy, and I also achieve what I want to. Here's a pro tip for anyone who's staying with a group of people, right? This is what I do every single time. It works every single time. Be the person that volunteers to get more groceries. Be the person that volunteers to cook more, because then you are in control of what gets bought, what gets purchased, and you're in control of cooking things that you want to cook them, how you want to cook them. Is this doable every single time, every night? No, of course not. Other nights, people made food for the entire group, right? Sometimes you kind of like find like you're rotating meals, but like take the initiative, do more. So I took the initiative in the house to prepare more things. And so it was 100% selfish. I'm also a doer, and I enjoy that aspect of like communal living with people. I'd rather be the guy doing stuff, getting stuff done. I'm a worker bee in the house. Just give me tasks to do, especially if it revolves around preparation of food and nutrition for people. So like with the kids, I was getting the kids ready in the morning in terms of like, preparing food for them, fruit and eggs and Greek yogurt and oats and stuff like that. And so, that also allowed me to be able to get my day off to a great start, right? And so be a little selfish with what you're doing. Raise your hand a little bit more. Super pro tip for you right there, right? But I had to be conscious of, that 7-day stretch for me. And while I would have, if that was just in its own little bubble and in isolation, I would have enjoyed myself in terms of more alcohol. I would have probably went a little bit more off track. But I looked at it as like, that's got to be the time that something's got to give in this period of time for me. And that had to be it, that 7-day stretch. So I made sure I got to the gym most days. I got steps in, even though it was hot as hell. Probably my steps were down a bit. I did have to travel, twice 6+ hours in the car. We had multiple baseball games per day, most days, right? So some of these instances, like, I had to adapt my schedule, but I stayed on track as much as I possibly could, because I looked at that moment in time as like, if I have experience in San Diego with my family, then I have experience in New Jersey, experiential, like business versus experiential. That's what I talk about to clients, right? Is this a business as usual moment, or is this an experiential moment? Too often people are acting experientially in business as usual moments, and then they regret the experiential moments that they go off track. And it's this stupid prison that people put themselves in, where it's like on July 4th, there's no chance that if I'm at a barbecue that I'm gonna only eat grilled chicken. Now, there are principles that I might take to that barbecue. I might prioritize more protein. I might look for slightly lower calorie sources of protein, right? I might have more, lean red meat or chicken versus like sausages if I'm worried about my caloric intake that day. I might go heavy on fruit early in the day, load up on a ton of fiber, right? Load up on a ton of volume. And then from there, I'll evaluate it. But most of the time people go into a moment like that and they're like, well, how am I going to stay on track? Well, you're not going to stay on track. It's July 4th. I mean, if you want to, you can, but like most likely you're not. So like, why are you going to have regret over it on Saturday and then like kick yourself over it and get into this feedback loop of feeling like you can't do it or you messed up, right? Own the moments before, own the moments right after. Have a plan for the time that's experiential. But too many people are doing experiential things in the business as usual moments. A little side lesson there. I didn't even plan on going through that. All right. Now, I'm back from Arizona for a day and a half. Master the transition. Master the transition. Get back to your routine right away as much as possible, even if it's for 36 hours. It doesn't matter, because it all compounds. Anything above 0 compounds. I love that phrase. Anything above 0 compounds. So if what you're doing doesn't feel like enough, you are at least doing something. Should you do more? Can you do more? Probably. Should you know what those right things are to do? Yeah, that would help. But anything above 0 compounds. Dim the light switch up as much as you can. All right? We leave right away, so I'm right back out of my routine. But I go right back into something that's pretty familiar. Fortunately, I'm going to a place that's very familiar with me. I grew up there. I used to live there for 40 years of my life. And so I know where I can get certain things. I know where the Chipotles are. I know that there's a grocery store. I will have food at the house that works for me. There will be more experiential moments, right? So I will plan to institute my business traveler, my vacation principles, which is principles that I share with clients. And effectively, from a high level, 30,000 foot view, we are owning the morning, because I don't need to eat pancakes when I'm on vacation. I'm not a child. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to move my body. I'm going to prioritize fitness as much as possible, as my schedule allows. I'm going to not do anything most likely stupid for lunch. There may be some experiential stuff here and there. I'm going back to New York and New Jersey. You better believe I'm going to have a couple bagels. You better believe I'm going to have a little bit of pizza. The things that aren't as good in California as they are there. So yes, there'll be some moments that feel like experiential, but they'll be strategically placed. But I won't give it away most days for lunch. I'll probably wait to start doing things like having drinks as long as I possibly can. Now, some of these days might be completely different, because I might be on a golf course at 9 a.m. and I might want to enjoy a cocktail, right? But I'll have a plan. And then most of the time, I will likely either have a dinner out, or I'll choose to be a little bit off track during the evenings. So I will delay my start to being off track for as long as I possibly can. And because I'm there for a longer period of time, there will be some days that I will just stay on it no matter what, even if I'm in an unfamiliar environment to my normal routine, because I have an overarching goal of how I want to look and feel when I return on July 11th. I don't want to be up 5 pounds. I don't want to feel bloated. I don't want to feel tired. I don't want to get sick. I don't want my business to miss a beat. So I will make sure that I prioritize these things. And so you have to give some thought into the end in the beginning, which I did before our trip to Coronado, which I am doing in between as I'm now evaluating, auditing how I'm doing on a consistent basis and making sure that my actions align with the goals that I have. All right. So when you are on your summer breaks, we are into summer break season. You have to evaluate what you have moving forward. Every Sunday in my program, we look at the next 7 days. What do you have on your calendar? What commitments are you making? How are you preparing to deal with the curveballs that are coming at you? Because they are coming. If you go through this process and you look at what's on your calendar and you then schedule yourself, you then prioritize the things that are important to make sure you're going to hit the goals that you have, you can't lose. You can always perform a little bit better, but if you do these things over and over and over again, you can't lose. Whether it's summer vacation season or it's business as usual in the fall, the spring, or any other time. If this one helped you, share it with someone who you know it can help. I appreciate you guys. Hope you have a fantastic summer travel season. I'll see you back here next week.